partnered with Expedia to provide hotel room options for people that are leaving evacuation zones. You can go to expedia.com/Florida to do that. In terms of vacancies, the most significant numbers of vacancies are in northern Florida from Tallahassee to Pensacola, as well as in southeast Florida in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. There are some vacancies in other parts of Florida, but those have by far the most vacancies at the current time. There's also a number of Airbnbs available, and similar to the hotels, the most availability is in both southeast Florida as well as the Big Bend and Panhandle region of the state of Florida. We think it's very important that you don't leave your pets behind. Bring your pets with you. They need you during this time. We have asked the hotels to relax their pet policies and advertise their relaxed pet policies on their website and on Expedia. The good news is many of them have done that. Many of them are allowing pets when they otherwise may not do that, and we thank them for that because we understand how important it is when people are evacuating for their own safety. It's not just them, family members as well as their pets. We have over 176 shelters open statewide, including more than 50 special needs shelters, and more will likely be added as this storm progresses to other parts of the state. If you want to look at shelters, go to floridadisaster.org/shelters, floridadisaster.org/shelters. We now have 58 school districts that have announced school closures due to this storm. Go to fldoe.org/storm info to get the most up-to-date information on school closures, fldoe.org/storm info. There's now over 30,000 personnel stationed and standing by to help with power restoration, and that's across all of our utilities, our electric co-ops. Right now in the state of Florida, there's about 8,000 customers that are out of power. That's mostly in southeast Florida due to some of the things that we have seen. But of course, that number will be into the millions relatively shortly. You're going to see widespread power outages as a result of Hurricane Ian making landfall and then working its way through the state of Florida. But we're working with all of those companies to make sure that they have the ability to get in as soon as possible and to help restore power once the storm passes. And that's both FDOT as well as Florida Highway Patrol with that. floridadisaster.org/get-a-plan if you have any questions about what is going to be happening within the next 24 hours. And what's going to happen is this is a relatively slow-moving storm now. When it actually reaches landfall, it's likely to go to a trickle. That's going to dump an enormous amount of rain on the state of Florida. It is going to work its way from southwest Florida up to the central part of our state. It's going to have major impacts in places like Osceola County, Orange County, and it's now projected to exit the state of Florida after passing through Volusia County, and it will go into the Atlantic Ocean and likely probably gain strength and run into some other state. But once it gets out of Florida, it's going to be kicking up a lot of water, and that's going to impact northeast Florida. It's going to impact the St. Johns River. It's going to impact Duval County. So this is going to have widespread impact. So you see major hurricane Category 4, that initial impact, that's going to be severe. The storm surge is going to be severe. Obviously, the water and the flooding for a slow-moving storm, very severe impacts in southwest Florida. But those impacts are going to continue going out all through the state. So this is not going to end up leaving the state of Florida until sometime on Friday morning. So this is a lot of nasty weather that we're in store for over the next few days. Kevin Guthrie is here, as well as Jimmy Petronas. So I'll let Kevin come up, and then we'll hear from Secretary Perdue and CFO.
Thank you, Governor. Again, appreciate your continued leadership on this response to Hurricane Ian. As you said, currently Hurricane Ian is bringing tropical storm force winds and rain to the Keys and South Florida. Our meteorologist just mentioned to us that before coming in here that our tropical storm force winds may extend out at landfall 300 plus miles to the northeast. So again, as the governor's already mentioned, this will be a statewide event. This is going to cause conditions for flooding. We've already, as the governor has mentioned, already started seeing tornadoes begin to form. I urge Floridians to monitor weather alerts and seek immediate shelter if tornado warnings are issued. Tropical tornadoes will occur very quickly. They will happen overnight tonight and will occur during heavy rain. You will not be able to see them coming. If you get a weather alert, stay in an interior room of a secure structure away from windows and doors and protect your head and body from any debris. If there is a flash flood warning in your area, remember it is never safe to walk or drive through flooded areas. If there is a flooded roadway, do not drive through the flooded roadway. You do not know what is going on with the roadway underneath. Please turn around and do not drown in that situation. Areas in the South Florida and the Keys began to experience outages, as the governor has already mentioned. We highly encourage you, as such, if you have not lost power, please go by an ATM and have some cash on hand before power is lost in your area. If you happen to have food in your refrigerators, you should limit the amount of times that you open that door. This will help keep your food and perishables intact for a longer period of time. If you are using a generator, remember to keep it elevated on a hard surface to prevent it from getting wet and increasing your chances of electrocution. Again, as we've always said, do not operate your generator indoors. Make sure you keep it outdoors and far away from windows and doors so that no exhaust can enter the home. Generator exhaust contains carbon monoxide, which will be fatal. If residents have questions about resources for Hurricane Ian, I urge them to reach out to their local emergency management or public safety office. This storm will only continue to intensify. If you want to leave, as the governor has said, now is your last chance. We cannot send first responders into harm's way because you decided not to leave. You must leave now. If you have any questions about the status of the storm and you don't have access to a computer, please continue to call our State Assistance Information Line toll free at 1-800-342-3557. The number is 1-800-342-3557. As always, you can follow us on our social media on Facebook and our Twitter page at FLCERT. Again, Governor, thank you very much.
Okay, Jared.
Fox 35 News starts now with a new track on Ian.
A new track for Hurricane Ian just came out. Good evening and welcome. I'm Luanne Sorrell.
And I'm John Brown. Let's get right over to Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner. So, Brooks, what has changed with this latest cone?
Yeah, the latest cone is narrower, indicating greater confidence in where it's going to go. It remains at 120 miles an hour, a strong Cat 2. It's expected to become, a Cat 3. It's expected to become a Cat 4 overnight tonight and then make a landfall tomorrow afternoon, probably close to Port Charlotte in Charlotte County. That's where like Punta Gorda is, a beautiful area down there. You've got Gasparilla Bay, that's just north of Fort Myers. And then from there, track toward Orlando as a hurricane initially, but a weakening hurricane, but tracking fairly slowly. It looks like a landfall in the afternoon by Wednesday, and then by the time it gets up to Orlando, it'll be Thursday morning. In doing so, expect torrential rain from basically tomorrow late morning right through Thursday morning. And I'd mentioned this is a weakening Category 1 hurricane at this point, becoming a tropical storm. We could still see hurricane force wind gusts around the Orlando area, but for the most part, most of us shouldn't see it gusting much past about 50 or 60 miles an hour. But most of those gusts will hold off until Thursday, and at that point we'll have had so much rain that a lot of the trees will be kind of in a weakened state. They won't be rooted as firmly, and that could lead to a lot of tree falls and associated power outages, which may last for several days or maybe longer than a week in some communities. After that, it works up into the Carolinas. If this track looks familiar, you're right. Hurricane Charley in 2004, 18 years ago, took an almost identical track. Very interesting how that worked out. Every storm's different, though. Charley was moving faster. It was a smaller storm. This one's moving slower. It's a much bigger storm. The wind field is going to be very large, and so we'll see the first tropical storm force winds in Orlando. That is gusts over 40 miles an hour tomorrow in the afternoon, associated with some of those bands of very heavy rain, and there will be embedded tornadoes tomorrow afternoon. That will be a factor. We'll have, no doubt, many tornado warnings through the day tomorrow. Hurricane force winds in orange may make it into Orlando in gusts tomorrow night. Maybe. We'll see how this goes. This is kind of a worst case scenario graphic as far as a National Hurricane Center forecast for if this holds on to a little bit of strength. We may see some hurricane force gusts, a dying Cat 1, a tropical storm by the time it gets into Orange County. But that's why we've got hurricane warnings in effect for Orange, Seminole, Lake, and Osceola counties. After that, it'll weaken and move out into the Atlantic before curving back into the Carolinas. As far as rain goes, this is hot off the press. This is the latest future rain. This is the GFS model. Orlando could pick up between 18 and 20 inches. We could see a stripe of very heavy rain, most of this falling Wednesday night, between Lakeland, Claremont, Leesburg, and DeLand, of 20 to 30 inches of rain. Now, the exact track determines who gets the most rain, but if we do in fact see totals even approaching this, where we get over a foot of rain, there will be extensive flooding. Even if your home stays dry, which I hope it does, a lot of roads to get there will essentially be cut off where they won't be passable. Now, the heavy rain begins tomorrow morning in pockets. It becomes a little bit heavier as we head toward midday as far as the consistency of heavy rain, but then we're expecting torrential rain that'll be raining for hours at a very high rate Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So this will be tomorrow night into Thursday morning, and that's when we could see that extensive flooding. All right, John and Luanne, it's all about the rain tomorrow and the tornado risk, the torrential rain tomorrow night, and then the big wind gusts on Thursday. A lot of power outages, but don't forget, if you lose power, you can watch our live coverage on the Fox 35 app. You can download the Storm Team weather app as well. It's all there in the palm of your hands. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Brooks. And we do have some breaking news and brand new video just into our newsroom. We're seeing the leftovers of downed trees in Broward County, which is in South Florida. They were possibly brought down by tornadoes in these feeder bands from Ian. So far, no tornadoes have been confirmed there, but the damage, as you can see, is significant. And there was further damage at an airport in South Florida.
Yeah, and this is still all unfolding tonight by the minute. Fox 35 anchor Ray Vieta is joining us live at the desk with the breaking details. So, Ray, what is the latest with that situation?
Well, the latest is they're still trying to figure out if this was a tornado, but the pictures make it seem like it was. Take a look. We told you about this at 10, but new since then. We have new video of the damage, and we're hearing from the person who flew over that. The new video shows the widespread damage from North Perry Airport. That's in the city of Hollywood, which is near Fort Lauderdale. You can see several of the planes flipped over with the wings bent and twisted. More than 15 planes there are reportedly damaged after a suspected tornado hit just about an hour ago. So far, there are no reports of any injuries. That's the good news. We just spoke with the man who recorded the video and took the images. He says he was surprised by the amount of damage he saw.
And we see one plane flipped over, 2, 3, 4, and unfortunate number of aircraft damaged. Luckily, we were okay. Our facilities were fine. We took precautions necessary to make sure. And
he also tells us some hangars were damaged as well, but he's just thankful, of course, that no one was hurt. Again, tornadoes are a big concern as Hurricane Ian makes its way across Florida. We'll be monitoring for any new reports of tornadoes throughout the night. Luanne?
All right. Thank you, Ray.
All right. Meanwhile, first responders are ready to help people who need assistance as quickly as possible.
Fox 35's Marie Edinger joins us live from the Orange County Convention Center, where helicopters and trucks are waiting on standby.
The number of ambulances here has been slowly decreasing throughout the day. You can see over to my side that there used to be an entire lot full. Now they've all driven out. There were 100 that had already left for Tampa. That number has likely increased, and what you see behind me is what's left of the group. Those headed to Tampa right now are focused on evacuations. FEMA also has several aircraft on standby. The medical helicopters will be doing what you'd expect, medical transport. The Air Force helicopters are on standby for other emergency missions.
We rally all these positions together in one base, set it up in typically under 48 hours, and we're ready to go with as many ambulances as FEMA needs us to deploy.
Now keep in mind, these are all additional resources. The number of ambulances available in your community, if you were to dial 911, is not going to be affected. You'll still be covered. Live in Orlando, Marie Edinger, Fox 35 News.
All right, we have much more coming up right here on Fox 35 News at 11.
Hurricane Irma proved deadly after knocking out power to nursing homes.
And tonight, assisted living facilities around the state aren't taking any chances.
See what's being done to keep vulnerable people safe.
My parents can always check my glucose levels just by looking at their cell phones.
I share my numbers with my wife and my daughter, and if I'm out in the yard working or busy, she'll come out and tell me, hey, you're going too low. If I'm working hard, it makes me feel good that they're watching.